Have you ever wondered what secrets the vast and mysterious continent of Australia holds within its ancient landscapes? Let's embark on a journey that takes us back some 60,000 years, to a time when the first footsteps echoed across this expansive terrain. Picture a land untouched, wild, and teeming with a diversity of life like none other. This was Australia, a land before time as we know it. A land that beckoned the first of her people, the indigenous Australians. These were no ordinary settlers. They were explorers and innovators, bravely navigating their way through an unfamiliar landscape and marking the beginning of a rich and complex history that continues to unfold even today. The indigenous Australians were not just survivors, they were custodians of the land. Their deep spiritual connection with the earth guided their every action. They believed in the dream time, a sacred era when ancestral spirits shaped the world. Through their intricate art, they painted these stories on the canvas of time, giving us insights into their deep-rooted beliefs and traditions. Their survival skills were nothing short of extraordinary. Living harmoniously with nature, they hunted, fished, and gathered, developing techniques that have stood the test of time. Through an intricate system of land management, they harnessed the bounty of the land, ensuring their survival in a land that was as challenging as it was beautiful. And it wasn't just about survival. They had a vibrant culture with a complex social structure, rich languages, and rituals that kept their communities tightly knit. They danced under the stars, sang songs of the dreamtime, and passed down their wisdom through generations. All of this in a land before written history. But the story of Australia doesn't end here. As we journey through time, we uncover layer upon layer of history, each adding to the rich tapestry that makes Australia what it is today. As we journey through time, we discover the resilience and cultural richness of the first inhabitants of this great land. Fast forward to the 17th century, a time when European explorers set their sights on the unknown southern land. As the age of exploration dawned, Dutch navigator Willem Janszoon, aboard the Dijfken, embarked on a journey that led him to a land not yet known to Europeans. In the year 1606, Janszoon became the first recorded European to set foot on Australian soil. He landed on the western coast of Cape York Peninsula, believing it to be part of New Guinea. Janszoon's discovery, though significant, did not lead to immediate European interest in the continent. Over a century later, the British entered the scene. The year was 1770, and the man of the hour was Captain James Cook. A seasoned explorer, Cook set sail on the HMS Endeavour, tasked with observing the transit of Venus across the sun from Tahiti. However, his mission didn't end there. Under secret orders from the British Admiralty, Cook continued his voyage, heading southward into uncharted waters. His journey led him to the east coast of Australia, where he made landfall at a place he named Botany Bay, due to the vast array of new plant species discovered there. Cook's exploration of the east coast was thorough. He meticulously charted the coastline, making contact with indigenous people and observing the rich resources and potential of the land. On August 22, 1770, Cook raised the Union Jack on Possession Island, proclaiming the eastern half of the continent as New South Wales for Britain. This marked the beginning of British claims over the Australian landmass. It's important to note that this claiming ignored the existence of the indigenous people who had been living on the continent for tens of thousands of years. The impact of these European explorations was profound. They set the stage for subsequent British colonization, forever altering the course of Australian history. As we delve deeper into this journey through time, we'll see the ripple effects of these early encounters with the unknown southern land. The arrival of the Europeans marked a significant turning point in Australia's history. Imagine being shipped halfway across the world for a crime you may or may not have committed. Welcome to the era of convict Australia. In the late 18th century, the British Empire found itself with a problem. Its prisons were overcrowded, and it needed a solution. Enter Australia, or as it was known then, New South Wales. In 1788, the First Fleet, a flotilla of 11 ships carrying over 1,000 souls, arrived on the shores of this new land. Among them, around 700 were convicts, exiled from their homeland for crimes ranging from petty theft to more serious offenses. Life in the new colony was far from easy. The convicts were put to work almost immediately, building infrastructure, clearing land, and cultivating crops. They faced harsh conditions, with scorching summers and bitterly cold winters. Food was scarce, disease rampant, and the punishment for any wrongdoing severe. Yet despite these adversities, they persevered. Over the years, more ships arrived, each carrying a fresh wave of convicts. They were the backbone of the burgeoning colony, their labor instrumental in its growth. They built roads, bridges, and buildings, many of which still stand today. They were the bricklayers, the smiths, the carpenters, and the farmers, their skills and toil shaping the land and its future. As the decades passed, attitudes began to change. The transportation of convicts was increasingly seen as inhumane and ineffective. In the 1860s, voices of dissent grew louder, and by 1868, the last convict ship had docked. The era of convict Australia had come to an end, yet its impact was far from over. The convicts and their descendants had transformed the land. They had paved the way for future settlers, their legacy woven into the fabric of the nation. From the bustling streets of Sydney to the rustic charm of Tasmania, their influence can be seen and felt. The legacy of the convict era has left an indelible mark on Australia. It's a chapter of history that speaks of hardship and perseverance, of change and resilience. It's a story that is uniquely Australian, a testament to the spirit of a nation and its people. Picture the year 1851, when the cry "Gold" echoed across the Australian continent. In this transformative period, the mere whisper of gold turned Australia into a land of opportunity. The Australian gold rushes triggered a massive influx of eager prospectors, both from within the country and overseas. Cities like Melbourne and Sydney saw their populations explode, and new towns sprouted up around prosperous goldfields. The gold rushes weren't just about population growth, though. They also brought about significant economic changes. Gold became a major export, contributing to a booming Australian economy. The newfound wealth led to the establishment of banks, expanded trade, and spurred the development of infrastructure like railways and telegraphs, forever changing the face of the Australian landscape. But the gold rushes weren't all golden. The sudden wealth disparity and the harsh conditions of the goldfields led to mounting tensions. The miners, frustrated with the expensive mining licenses and lack of political representation, took a stand in what would become known as the Eureka Stockade. This rebellion, though short-lived, was a pivotal moment in Australian history. It sparked a wave of political change, leading to the introduction of male suffrage, secret ballots, and paid members of parliament in Victoria. The Eureka Stockade was, in many ways, a reflection of the broader societal changes brought about by the gold rushes. It was a cry for justice and representation, a demand for a fair share of the prosperity that the gold had brought. It marked a shift in Australian society, from a penal colony to a land of free settlers, and it laid the groundwork for the democratic principles that would later shape the nation. So, while the gold rushes brought wealth and growth, they also brought conflict and change. They transformed Australia from a sparsely populated convict settlement to a thriving, dynamic society. The gold rushes were more than just a quest for wealth. They were a catalyst for change, a pivotal chapter in the shaping of modern Australia. The gold rush not only brought wealth, but also profound social and political change. As we enter the 20th century, Australia stands on the cusp of nationhood and the challenges of global conflict. The dawn of the 20th century brought about a significant shift in Australia's journey. The year 1901 marked the birth of the Commonwealth of Australia, a federation of the 6 previously separate British colonies. This birth of a nation was a monumental step towards Australia's independence, with the power now vested in a federal parliament. But the joy of nationhood was soon overshadowed by the onset of the First World War. Australia, as part of the British Empire, found itself drawn into the global conflict. More than 400,000 Australian men enlisted, a significant number for a country with a population of fewer than 5 million. The loss and suffering experienced in battles like Gallipoli and the Western Front left indelible scars on the Australian psyche. The interwar years, a brief respite, were soon followed by the Second World War. Australia once again stood by Britain, contributing troops, ships, aircraft, and resources. This time, however, the war reached Australia's shores, with bombings in Darwin and the fear of Japanese invasion. This conflict further reinforced the Australian spirit of courage, resilience, and mateship. These world wars had profound effects on Australia. The shared experiences of battle fostered a stronger sense of national unity. The stories of bravery and sacrifice became a part of the national identity. In the aftermath of the wars, Australia began to question its reliance on Britain, leading to a shift in foreign policy and closer ties with the United States. The World Wars also reshaped Australia's demographic landscape, with the arrival of war brides and post-war migration. These newcomers brought with them diverse cultures and traditions, adding new threads to the fabric of Australian society. Amidst turmoil and conflict, Australia emerged with a stronger sense of national unity and identity. The experiences of the 20th century, marked by federation and world wars, played a pivotal role in shaping the Australia we know today. In the aftermath of World War II, Australia opens its doors to a wave of immigrants, forever changing the face of the nation. The world was in ruins after the war, and Australia, relatively unscathed, was looking to bolster its population. It was during this time that Australia adopted a new slogan, "Populate or Perish," and the government set about implementing an ambitious immigration program. Hundreds of thousands of displaced Europeans, looking for a fresh start, took the opportunity to call Australia home. This post-war immigration boom did so much more than just increase the population. It brought with it a rich tapestry of cultures, traditions, and cuisines, weaving them into the fabric of Australian society. From the bustling Little Italy in Melbourne to the vibrant Greek community in Sydney, the face of Australia began to change. The streets were filled with new sounds, new smells, and new faces, as people from all over the world started to build their lives in this far-off land. The latter part of the 20th century saw significant social changes. The White Australia policy, a discriminatory immigration policy favoring European migrants, was finally dismantled, making way for a more multicultural and inclusive Australia. As the new millennium dawned, Australia continued to welcome immigrants from all parts of the globe, firmly establishing itself as a multicultural society. Today, nearly half of all Australians were either born overseas or have at least one parent who was. Australia's role in the global community has also evolved. Today, the nation is a respected player on the international stage, known for its strong economy, commitment to democracy, and dedication to addressing global issues such as climate change and human rights. The story of modern Australia is a tale of transformation, a journey from a predominantly Anglo-Celtic society to one of the most multicultural nations on Earth. It's a testament to the power of diversity and the strength of the human spirit. As we look at Australia today, we see a vibrant, diverse nation, shaped by its rich history and the people who have called it home. In this brief journey through time, we've barely scratched the surface of Australia's rich and complex history. We've delved into the deep roots of Indigenous culture, dating back tens of thousands of years, a testament to human resilience and adaptability. Our voyage then took us to the pivotal moment when Europeans cast their gaze upon this distant land, forever altering its course. We've ventured into the grim reality of the convict era, a time when Australia served as a penal colony, only to emerge as a beacon of hope during the Gold Rush era. This pivotal moment fueled the birth of a federation, a unified Australia that would face the trials of 2 world wars. In the wake of these global conflicts, Australia became a new home for countless immigrants, shaping the diverse and vibrant nation we know today. As we continue to explore and understand Australia's past, we gain a deeper appreciation of the nation it has become today.